Well, hello, this is Jeff Gaudiosi, and you're on misplacedstraws.com where music comes to life. And my guest today may not be a name that you know, but you have certainly heard his playing. He's played bass with everyone from David Lee Roth to Ringo Starr, Elton John, and a host of others. But he's here now with his own band called The Squirts, and they have a new record out called Three, and we're going to talk all about it. Please welcome Matt Bissonette. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you very much. How are you? Good to
I'm
see you.
doing great. It's a pleasure to have you. So now
Good to be here.
in the Squirts, you're joined by George Bernhardt on drums and Roger Carter on guitar. Tell the rather unique story of how you guys came together as a band.
The Squirts. We were out. Roger, our drummer for Rick Springfield, and George Bernhardt was playing guitar for Rick Springfield, and I was playing bass and singing with Rick. We've been doing Rick's gig for probably about 5 or 6 years, and then we Roger would come down to my studio and we just bash out some songs for music licensing to try and get songs placed in movies and TV and stuff like that. And then we just started kind of stumbling into a sound, and it kind of stumbled into our first record called Squirts One, and we were having problems finding names for albums. We just doing the stupid number thing, but it just kind of turned into a thing. And then Roger was talking to Rick one day at a gig saying, "Hey, what if we opened up for you?" So Rick, being the cool guy that he is, just said, "Yeah, go ahead." And it was actually like a sound check for his concerts because it was the same instruments and we'd be playing on the same gear. And then we'd go out and play the songs from our first record, and then we recorded the second record, Re-Squirted. And by the way, don't look up the Squirts online and find anything bad and blame us for it because it kind of was a different meaning. But we just started doing gigs with Rick, and he just let us play all the time. So we'd open up for him, and Rick's fans were really great and gracious and bought CDs, and they know the songs, know the words to the songs and everything. So it was a great couple of years, 3 or 4 years that we did that. And then we all took time, everyone kind of left the band and did different things. And then we just kind of, during COVID, we just were writing stuff. George and I were writing stuff, and we just started bopping ideas off. And we said, let's just do another record, bring back the band from the dead.
Well, it's been 18 years about between records two and three. Did
Wow, I didn't even realize that it's been that
Yeah,
long.
it goes quick. I mean, did you always think that you'd get back and do another Squirts record, or was it just time has moved on?
Um, I mean, we're all really good friends and we see each other. George just moved to Nashville a few years ago, so I don't see him quite as much, but I'll always go from my house in Orange County up to LA, and Roger and I will go out to lunch and hang out. Whenever I'm in Nashville, I try and see George. It just kind of just happened, it's kind of funny when it's like it's like when I used to hear stories about John Lennon and Paul writing songs, they would just sit in a room with an acoustic guitar and just stare at each other like, "What do you got? What do you have?" And I remember we used to do the same thing with Rick Springfield when we were writing songs for his records. We just kind of go, "What do you got?" And you have to have that person that kind of motivates you to do it. And so I think George and I were talking on the phone, and it just kind of happened again. We just started with one song, and we dug up a song that we had done probably 20 years ago when we were on the road with Rick, and we did it in a studio in Milwaukee on a day off. So we took that rhythm track, and that became one of the songs, "When You Die." We just kind of heard that song, go, "That's pretty cool groove," and started tearing that apart. And it's just been great over the years that everybody has their own studio. What used to cost 50, $100,000 now costs 10. And with everybody playing and producing ourselves, it keeps it under budgets and stuff. But it really started just with one song. I remember that was the first song we worked on, and everything just kind of flowed from that. There was never any real intention to do it. It just kind of happened. So now the world is ready for it. I think that's what's going
And with these songs, as you just said, did you guys kind of write this whole record now, or did each of you have some ideas that have been lingering over the past decade or so that you said, you know what, this would make a good Squirt song, and you brought it to the guys?
Well, I mean, each song is it comes about in a different way. Sometimes I'll start an idea, sometimes Roger will start an idea, sometimes George will start one. This one, I think, was kind of I think COVID kind of hit everybody pretty hard, and we were all looking for stuff to do because we were just, music was banned. I think that was the word that motivated us when music was pretty much banned, non-essential. That word non-essential is just, how can you say that word about a person's life or livelihood? You can do this, but you can't do that. You can have a strip bar open, but you can't have a church open. You can do this and that. It just seems so funny. This was kind of a launching pad, I think, for us to vent out some frustrations in a funny way. Like
Mhm.
a lot of these songs, like "Not a Good Time for a Clown" and
Yeah.
"Funny You Should Ask" and "White Noise." A lot of these albums are kind of just songs. I mean, they kind of left me to write the lyrics and stuff, and the melodies and stuff, and we fit the stuff around whoever's idea starts first. I'll kind of come up with a hook and just mess around with ideas. But it got really inspired to kind of blow off steam and laugh about the situation as bad as it was. And I think every song, in a way, is kind of about something pretty serious and either distressing or uplifting or whatever, but we're kind of trying. I mean, we're the Squirts. We have to be funny. That's what we are. So we're just trying to make light of situations and try and find the positive side of any situation because that's all you can do at the end of the day.
It's funny because hearing you say that, I love the record. And when I listen to it, just sonically, two of my favorite bands come to mind, but I think their lyrics also kind of fit into what you were just saying. And that's XTC with Andy Partridge and Cheap Trick. Those are the two bands that kind of come to my mind when I hear it. And hearing you talk about the lyrics, it also fits exactly with those two bands, their
Yeah,
vibe.
it's funny you should say that. Ecstasy is one of my favorite bands. It was specifically the Non Such album
Yeah.
that they did, one of their last. Um, what they did and how they would make songs when they would write, you would just see a picture in your head,
Mhm.
and you'd hear a song like Peter Pumpkinhead,
Yeah.
which probably has nothing to do with it. It's kind of like John Lennon writing a song when he says, "What did you mean by these lyrics?" And
Yeah.
he goes, "Well, what does it mean to you?"
Yeah.
I'm sure when Andy Partridge was writing lyrics, he had a specific thing in his mind, but it kind of makes it general so you can see anything. And when I would listen to that record, I would just see images of things. And that's kind of what we wanted to do,
Mhm.
is just to have songs that somebody would ask you, "What's that song about?" And it could mean something completely different to somebody else, but I kind of have an idea what it's about, but it's kind of general anyway. But those two bands are one of the two of my favorite bands. We go out on the road with Cheap Trick once in a while, and I've been getting to know those guys, and they're sweetheart guys and really really cool guys, and just great music. I mean, it's like great melodies. That's what we want to do. We want to write great melodies and lyrics that make you think and make you laugh and just kind of feel good about it. It's a disappearing art in this crazy world.
That's for sure. Kind of switching gears a little, looking at your career. I mean, we've all seen the documentary Hired Gun, on Sidemen, but I think your career is a little different in that you've done these long-term stints with people. I mean, like Rick, you were with for a long time, Joe Satriani and others. Do you see a difference between kind of what we think of as the hired gun and as the sideman?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like right now, I'm on the road. We're in Hollywood, Florida, and we're playing tonight with Kevin Cronin and
Mm,
Don Felder and Styx. We're out for 3 months, and we're playing up until September. Then they come home, and then I call it coming back into real life. You come home, and then you just kind of, the highs and lows of, going out there and rocking and stuff, and coming home and digging ditches and feeding the dog and all that stuff. It's kind of a thing like this that life is.
mm,
So I started out growing up in Detroit just playing bass and playing in different bands. So I kind of got into the playing like a second baseman of a baseball player. The bass player role is you're not the glory guy. You're the guy that makes the double plays, that makes the
mm,
band sound great. Whether you play simple or busy or whatever it is, you have your role. And coming from Detroit, we're all like hardworking people that do their jobs and don't complain and go out there and do it. And I'm realizing at this age, at 63, that one of the main reasons of getting a gig and keeping a gig isn't so much how you play and your level of musicianship. It's about how you get along with the guys on the bus or on the plane. this business is so much personality driven and just kind of what kind of person you are to get along. So it's kind of I just bounced from things since 1981. My brother Greg, and I played with Maynard Ferguson, and that was like our first road gig. And I look back now, and I just kind of see this thing about one thing leading to another thing, and like a lot of people in LA will go to clubs to get their names around to be seen in case there's any gigs going on, like and usually that works when you're seen, you're remembered in someone's mind for a session or a gig or whatever. And I'm not like a big bar guy, but I just thank God every day that I've gotten calls to do work, and I can see now when I look back, like I keep a journal every day and I constantly go back and look at it and go, I can see how this one gig led to this gig, how Ringo led to ELO's thing that I did with them, and coming to LA, how we got the gig with Satriani and Roth, and then with Elton, and now with Kevin. It's just a thing that you just never know what's going to happen, and it's so funny because all I really wanted to do was be a songwriter and a singer and have my own band. We had a band called the Mustard Seeds that we had for 10 years. It was kind of like a King's X
Yeah.
power pop band, and that was kind of the love of my life until that ended, and I just kind of kept doing different things. But my main thing is writing songs and producing and doing different things. And I remember my dad, and now I'm a dad of a 28-year-old son, and I remember my dad would always see me struggling in my own bands and trying to make the bands work, not making any money, being married and having a little kid at the time, and he's kind of looking at me like, you know, your brother's, he's out on the road with Toto now. When are you gonna? And I'm going, Dad, I'm doing, but when are you gonna get a real job, kind of thing. And now I get it, being older, like with my own son and stuff. But that was my main thing is doing that. But that doesn't always pan out the way you want. And I know God has specific reasons of things you can handle and what you can't handle. I probably could never have handled being a star singer guy fronting the band every night and doing that thing. It's not really my personality. So I think I'm right where I need to be, where it's balance. My brother and I always talk about balance, being able to play any kind of music and not just being a rocker or a jazzer or whatever, but being musically balanced to be able to do anything and just kind of do something different every day. Like one day I'll be home just hanging out. Then I'll be writing a song, producing something, then I'm out on the road. Everything's different. And that's what works for me. That's where I'm most happy. If I was to just do one thing every day, I'd probably lose my mind. So it's a long answer.
That's perfect, though. You mentioned you're on the road with Kevin Cronin, and prior to that, you were in the touring version of that last lineup of REO Speedwagon. Is it tough for you with just all of the commotion going around that and centering on the bass position? Is that something you gotta like put out of your head when you take the stage every day?
Yeah, you know what? I've removed myself from that situation completely because it's not really in any of my business, to be
Mhm.
honest. I know that I've learned a lot about people and the internet and how that unlocks everyone's right to have an opinion, which is great. But that opinion is so ugly sometimes, the things that people are saying,
Yeah.
that I see a glimpse of it, something will pop up and I'll see it and I just go, that's not a good look for anybody. And that's just too bad that somebody could say something that they would never say to someone's face because you just wouldn't do that. The internet has made people kind of into monsters. And I think that when they look back at things that they say and they do, we all do things like that we look back and wish we didn't do. It's just kind of a bad spot for everybody. And it's just sad. I feel bad for everybody. And we're just finishing this tour out and seeing what happens after that. And I mean, I pretty much just got a call to fill in, and then they asked me to stay a little bit longer, and I've stayed out of it as much as I can. And I just hope it works out for everybody.
Exactly. You mentioned how your first thought was, you wanted to be the singer and be in a band and have your own thing. When you look back now, is there a different vibe for you, whether it's on stage or in the studio, if you're playing or recording your own material, with the mustard seeds or the squirts, or you're going in and recording or playing for somebody else? Does it take a different mindset?
That's a great question. I was just thinking about that the other day. I remember, I mean, I was a lot younger then and not as experienced as being older now. When I used to go out and open up, play in my own band and go out and sing in
Mm,
front, it was tough for me. The hardest thing was the first gig that we did with the Mustard Seeds, where I had to, here's a mic, and I'm not sitting in the back playing bass for
mm,
some other artist. I'm right in front talking and entertaining, talking to people,
mm,
coming up with a spiel that works. And my thing was always hiding behind comedy and sarcasm and funny things
mm,
because it's really tough for me to look somebody right in the eye and sing a song. And because rock stars like Rick Springfield or Bruce Springsteen or whoever, they're like rock stars where that's who they are. I
mm,
mean, I know who I am, and I'm kind of this guy from Detroit that's a bass player who was very fortunate to play music. And if somebody listens to a song I write, I'm just like, thank you. It's great, but I don't have anything in my mind thinking I'm any bigger than I am because I
mm,
know myself and I know my faults and my strengths and weaknesses. So there is a difference when you go out with your own thing, when you're playing your own music and your own lyrics and your own song, and this responsibility, this weight that you have for it to be great is something that I might not have been able to handle for long terms,
mm,
like Kevin and Springfield, guys like that, Satriani. That's who they are. That's like they live and breathe their own music, and they've done it their whole lives, and they're more comfortable in that skin. Like now, like if I go out on the road with Elton, I remember when I first started, the first gig, your legs are weak. You're kind of getting up there, going, "Holy smokes! There's like 50,000 people here." And I'm playing, and I'm here right now, playing in this situation. I don't know how I got here, but I'm here now. And then you have those. It's like a baseball. I talked to my son, who's a baseball player, and that first inning when you're out on the field, a little wobbly until that first ball
mm.
comes to you,
Yep.
and then it's like you don't think twice about it. And with us, you got your in ears on, you're playing, and it just comes. Oh, this I've done this a million times. I can do this. It's kind of, and then sometimes it just sneaks up on you. You do a gig and you just go for some reason. Usually, like if there's a specific person in the crowd that you got on the guest list that you're
Mm,
going, boy, I hope they like this, or you know, you go back to 12-year-old mentality of,
mm,
man, am I okay to do this? Am I good enough? I mean, music is a funny business because it exposes everything about you,
mm,
and for me, I've learned years ago that music is not for me. It's music. I think was originally made to glorify God.
mm,
The thing that put you here is what music is, and that's kind of how I try to live my life. Going, I don't care if anybody here. It's like an audience of one. If
mm,
I write a song, and I would think that God would go, "Good try, you did your
mm,
best on that." It's not a great song, but you did good.
mm,
That's all that matters to me. I mean, I love to make people happy with music and do all
mm,
that stuff. But I learned years ago that, when you're younger, you're playing for that one girl in the crowd and you're
mm,
thinking,
mm,
yeah, that
mm,
person over there. And then the older you get, you realize that it's just silly and kind of pointless and kind of immature, and you kind of grow out of it and you go back to it and you just kind of go through life. And as you get old, and I've gotten old enough to kind of go, it's almost kind of it's a job. You go up there and you do your job and you do it. And I love my job
yeah,
and it's great, but it just try not to get too serious about it. But that's a
mm.
great question.
So you have the Kevin Cronin tour. It's going to take you through the summer. Do you think that you and the Squirts will be able to do any shows after that or during that? Are you guys trying to work anything in?
We've been talking about it. Everyone's kind of gone to their corners, and we'll see what's going to happen with this record and how it does and
Mm.
stuff. We've talked about it, and we want to do it, and we're kind of hoping something happens. So we got to get ourselves motivated to get out there and spread the message.
Mhm. Well, hopefully soon. Well, you've
Yes.
been spending some time here with Matt Bissonette. The band is called The Squirts. The album is three. It's a fun listen. It's a great summer listen. Matt, it's been a pleasure spending some time with you. Can't wait to catch you with Kevin Cronin in July up here in
Yeah.
Connecticut. And best of luck with the record and the tour.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure meeting you, and thanks for having me on your cool show with your cool guitars back there.
Thanks so much, my friend. Have a good one.
All right, take care. Bye bye.
Bye.